Good morning.
Good morning, Stephen.
Morning, guys.
If I take down that card, if I can take down that card, we should see over here, possibly. Can't find him now. Hang on. Right, only I can hear you.
All right.
Right.
Okay.
Oh,
Morning, John.
Good morning.
Out on the allotment again.
did they do
All
that?
right.
The allotment?
Okay. What's been happening?
Why does
Anything?
my XSplit have its name on it?
Because you need to go over to XSplit and confirm that you are still registered.
Naughty boys, aren't they?
Just making sure that you've got a registered copy of the software, and there you are. As soon as you went over there, it's gone. Right. Okay. Now, our English way of life has been under assault, and Stephen mentioned it yesterday. We just need 3 letters: ESL. This, what? Where do you begin?
English Softball League.
No,
English Stupid League.
right.
Beggars belief, though, doesn't it? I mean, these people are businessmen.
Yeah.
And somebody somewhere thought it would be a good idea to stiff the long-suffering football fans and come up with a wheeze to screw any more money out that they could. Not cognizant of the one, in marketing terms, you have to know about your product, place, price, promotion. And they they didn't do the basics. Oh, they might have done research into the effect of doing this to the football world, but they obviously didn't do proper research on it. It beggars belief. I can't believe it.
Well, totally. Say good morning to Chris. Morning, Chris. There's only one Blab team, but we're good. I'm glad to be your favourite. Basically, football since the 1800s, late 1800s, has been a staple of our way of life. I mean, we all have teams which we root for. I mean, I'm down in Wiltshire, but my team is my hometown of Burnley, and that's the way it's structured, isn't it? You have a club that you follow based on where you live or where you were born.
No, not really.
Okay.
Oh, well, yes. Sorry, yes. Where you live, yes. There's a local attachment, yeah, or a hereditary attachment, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, but just the backstory to this. Peter's bullet point. Yep.
Now, I'm not into football. Now, I'm going to surprise you here.
Okay.
I actually thought it would have been a good thing for the world. Let me tell you why. We'll get to, I don't, but I know a lot of people stay up to watch what's that game they're on about in America, and Coca-Cola, and people who can't pay millions of pounds to get an ad. What's the name of that?
Super Bowl.
American.
Super Bowl. People watch that from all over the world. Now, could you imagine a Super League, a European Super League, and then an all-world Super League? Well, the top of the Super League in Europe gets to play the Asian Super League, whatever. It can go on and on. Now, listen, when the Premier League came, a lot of people weren't happy about that. Do you remember that?
Yeah, but
right.
Pardon?
And they were proven right. The Premier League and Murdoch has been a disaster for football.
Yeah. But you see, I think if they didn't have it, if they didn't do it the way they've done it, right? I think it would have been, I don't know if they could have stayed in their own league and then they played a Super League later or something like that. The big teams would always be playing each other. Yeah.
They could have done anything they like over the summer.
Yes.
If got the involvement of teams and not doing anything to affect the British football leagues, or to get rid of the principle. The whole point about sport is that on any given day you can either win or lose, and if you win, then you grow from that. If you lose, you can get relegated. If you've got a situation where nobody can ever get relegated, then that's not sport. It's just not sport.
Hey, look at that comment has just come in from Nick.
Yeah, quite agree, Nick.
You know, so you got to think these people buy these companies. It's about money to them. They're like race. The footballers are just race horses in a stable, and when they're knackered, they get shot in the head. You're finished.
The thing is that we've got football clubs, not football franchises like American football.
Yeah.
You know, you can move a franchise from New York to Miami, or from Miami to Vegas, or whatever, and that's where, and that's where the team becomes. Don't do that with Villa. You can't move Villa to Liverpool.
But they did move Wimbledon to Milton Keynes.
All right.
Oh, so, yeah, 1 in 100 years, John.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just saying that they did do it.
And here's another thing that I think is at UEFA. I think they're going to have to buck up now and say, "Oh, wait a minute," because one of the problems is, I'm led to believe, is they're taking all the money. You know, and the clubs aren't getting a fair share. Am I right in saying that?
No, I don't think so.
No, the clubs are richer than they've ever been because of television.
Right.
I never had so much money.
Again.
Okay. No. Okay. So how's the other thing? Watch what you do to your fan base, because I'm watching this. I'm watching the situation in America.
The clubs have been abusing the fan base for 40 years.
Yeah.
They've been doing it day in, day out, season in, season out, because they understand that it's not really a business. It's a social artifact, isn't it? You know, you've got rugby for sure, and you've got tennis, but somehow football is ingrained in British culture.
Yeah.
And UEFA and FIFA, for Christ's sake. I mean, I mentioned yesterday the word corruption. You know, if there was ever a byword for corruption, it was FIFA. But they've let themselves open to, well, all right. They've let themselves open to a sort of an inquiry into the governance of football. So through their stupidity, they're now going to be subject to an inquiry. Whether or not an inquiry by basically a corrupt government is going to make any difference, who knows? But I yield to Paul.
Here's a question for you guys. I don't. If one of those was your teams and they went and joined the Super League, would you still support them the same way?
Yeah. Because I don't anymore. I don't. The word support doesn't fit in. The word, I'm a little bit interested in them, does fit in. My life, like millions of others over the last years, the priorities have changed. And, you know, the fact that, Stoke are, in quotes, my team, but I'm not going to see them again.
Right. So are you still giving money to your team, Stephen?
No.
There you go. And that's why they're wanting a Super League, so they can get more money.
Still on topic, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
but what do Everton, Manchester City and Southampton have in common?
Owned by Chinese?
Nope.
Saudis?
Nope.
UAE?
Right, okay, even John's not got this one, which is pretty unusual. They were founded, the original clubs in the 1870s were founded by churches as something for the local populace to do. And that's why this whole thing is steeped in history. Burnley were one of the founding 13.
So was Stoke.
Yeah, there you are. history. It's the problem is that if we had the German model, which it's too late for, but if we had the German model where 50.1% of the club is owned by the fans, so therefore you can never do anything against the fan base because you just get voted out, then none of this would have happened. But the fact is that, as has been said, they're being seen as commercial entities, as money-generating exercises, and not as sport. And the principal thing is that, as I just said earlier, with sport, you've got to have promotion and relegation. It adds to the whole thing. Yeah, I mean, tennis has got promotion and relegation.
Well, the other thing is as well, look at Scottish football, dominated by Rangers, Celtic, Rangers, Celtic, Rangers, Celtic, Rangers, Aberdeen, Rangers, Celtic, Rangers, Celtic, Aberdeen. And now, wouldn't it be great if they had a British League so that the top teams could play in the whole of Britain, and the likes of Manchester can go to Glasgow, and Glasgow down to Manchester, and Manchester to Aberdeen. It would take in bigger crowds, I can assure you that. If that happened. What's your thoughts on that?
We're taking different crowds.
Yeah. More money crowds, because they need more crowds in my local football club.
Somehow I think that Stoke versus Stenhouse Muir on a wet Wednesday evening is going to be a worse drag than Stoke versus Burnley whenever with that back to
Yeah, you will.
To travel 400 miles.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, look at Norwich. Norwich are bouncing back to the Premiership at the first. Yeah, Stoke can be back. Just needs money, which is.
Okay.
Well, Burnley could be down, of course, which would also give you the same match.
All those rich clubs, all the Manchester, Liverpool, Manchester United, are they all owned by rich owners now?
Yes, of course they are.
Yeah.
Them all. Well, I'm afraid that's what's happened, folk. Football is sold its soul. And that's what's happened. It ain't a family thing anymore. It's a business thing now. And they're out to make money. Because if they start not making money, they'll drop you like a ton of bricks. I'll assure you that.
Right. And Nick's just saying that it wasn't a rival to the Premier League or anything like that. It was just something to do during the week.
That's just putting your toe in the water. Then you turn the tap on full when you've got your toe in the water and it's worked.
I bet you never thought I would have so much to say about football, eh?
Well, your team hasn't even got a manager, so what can you say? You also got a big lump of fur on your left shoulder. Have you been hugging? No, that's your left shoulder. That's it. You're pulling it off now.
I'm on my own this week. I was out walking the dog this morning. Do you know what happened to me this morning? I'm on this next door app, and I says, right, I'm going to do a litter pick. And somebody put in, some inconsiderate person has taken all the rubbish and put it at the entrance of the woods beside me. And I says, perhaps it's because that's what the council want. And then I look and I says, I've no need to do this clean up now. Somebody's already done it. And I found out it's a man that walks the area doing all the rubbish. And the council say, if you pick up the rubbish, put it in before you go into the woods, leave it where we can get it, take a picture and send us a location. And that's exactly what it was. I have never seen the woods so clean. So well done, that man. Saved me a job.
Okay, so we've done football.
Yeah.
I'm going with one-word titles this week. It's a lot quicker to type them.
Well, I'd never buy anything made by him ever again after he disappeared from the UK and magically reappeared as a UK company based in Singapore.
But in his not defence. Malmesbury, which is about 20 miles away from here, is the scientific headquarters where all this stuff is actually researched and developed, and they're taking on a few hundred people over the coming months. But this just reeks of well,
Corruption.
Stephen.
Corruption.
Right.
No, I don't think
I'm
it's
afraid I
corruption.
don't agree.
No, I'm not saying.
We're desperately trying to find ventilators. Where they come from really doesn't matter. And this was to ensure that we could get Dyson-made ventilators. It never happened.
Yeah.
But, the government were willing to look at how people would be taxed if they came over and did work in the UK.
There are
Is that a
thousands.
terrible thing?
Yes,
No.
it is, John, because there are thousands of ventilator manufacturers
Yeah.
who could have done the work. But Boris, because of Brexit and because of Dyson and JCB, who are chief Brexiter
Right.
in chief.
But at the end of the day, they were prepared to talk to anybody. Yeah.
No,
It's not like they didn't talk to other people.
There was a
Who ended up
preferred supply-
making them?
Hold on, Pete. Hold on. There was a preferred suppliers list, which the NHS, which Boris and the rest of his team picked from. And guess where most of those businesses were based? In conservative constituencies. So I'm afraid it's corruption.
Right, okie doke. Then I blame the people who own the firms for opening up and being in conservative areas. Where do you stop? That's what I'm saying to you.
Conservative areas, because that's where they're creating the work. Not like Labour in areas where they're sitting idle, doing nothing.
You start, not stop. You start by following procurement rules.
Yeah.
Yeah. I promise you that when it comes out, when they do the review, all of the PPE scandals will come out the woodwork, and that's not the time to say, "Oh, when will it end?" It's when it will start. When it will start.
Yeah, well, I'm not a conservative voter, but I think, when somebody's faced with an impossible wall to climb, they'll do anything. And that is the situation the government found themselves in last year when we got into a pandemic situation.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, John. It all goes back to the crap.
Okay,
government.
so you would have preferred people died, and that's what people are trying to avoid.
That's not an argument at all.
Like that. I would have liked it if the government had done the right thing from day one of the pandemic. Then we wouldn't be where we are now for sure. I would like it if they'd have done the right thing on PPE from day one. I would like it if they'd gone ventilators from day one.
We all have fantastic hindsight, but we're in a pandemic. We're in a panic, to shorten the word pandemic. You can't have perfection and instant solution. Does not happen.
Sorry.
There is, however, when this is finished, there is going to be an inquiry, and I would lay odds, I'm not a betting man, that there are people who've been very fortunate to get contracts which they may not have been the best for, whether they were awarded contracts. And I mean, the fact that Matt Hancock has a shareholding in a company that supplies the health service or might supply the health service in Wales and the UK, it goes against the grain, really. And we're going to find that it has been jobs for the boys. Anyway, okay. And over to Nick. And it wouldn't matter which party was in power.
I've liked everything else you've said, Nick, but you can't say. How can you, in all honesty, say that? Because you don't know. You think.
But you don't know your side either. You cannot make any judgments until a proper investigation has taken place.
Emergency. Even Tony Blair today, I think, said something that agreed with the Prime Minister today, and it could have, nobody would have got it right. Even my government of Scotland has admitted big time that they put patients to go in to die in nursing homes because they didn't get it right. And it
That
will
happened in
always
the
be on
UK.
her shoulders, she says.
There's a difference between not getting it right and a difference between corruption.
Right.
Okay, well, I've got an answer. We'll find every Labour voter and we'll lock them up on the Isle of Man. Let's just move on into a better topic, eh?
The first time I've seen John getting annoyed. John, your blood pressure. Don't ever get a haircut again. Stay the way you are.
Oh dear, oh dear. Oh, to Nick.
Nick's they are keeping us at peak because Blair and Brown are
Oh,
the
it's a
biggest
good point.
problem.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
So what you said there doesn't matter. There's a slightly different issue there, Nick. I mean, yeah, I agree that Blair and Brown did what you said.
Yeah.
But that's not quite the same as the thing I'm talking about, which is giving contracts to companies where the health secretary has got shares in it. Or
Are you sure about that?
the local authority minister giving contracts to businesses in his constituency. It all smells of corruption.
Find out who was involved in the private, what was it called? The private initiative to build a hospital. Find out every name and who was sitting with who over the coffee table.
Agree.
And send them to Isle of Wight.
I said Isle of Man.
Well,
Who's this?
We're going around the islands to say share how many we've got. Okay.
Right.
Driving test to resume, but getting a slot is like gold dust, says the learner.
Yeah, I heard that.
There's a backlog of 420,000 driving test applications.
Yeah.
They'll need to take some examiners on then, won't they?
By the time these people get their license, we'll all be driving electric cars, possibly.
I'm guessing that the current crop of driving instructors have gone bump.
Well, anything could have happened, can't it? But it's just one symptom of, or one result of the time.
Instructor. Oh, sorry, Steve.
What are you saying?
You're waiting for each other at the moment.
Well, I'm just saying, could you imagine being a driving instructor and you pull in and say, I'm sorry I have to tell you, you've failed. What a job! What a job! Right, back to you.
And driving into that. No, that's not an instructor, is it? That's an examiner. But it has been quite pleasant in some ways because I don't live very far from a test centre. And we've not had thousands of bloody learners holding up the road while they do their 3-point turns and things.
It's not called that now.
Is it not?
What's not called what?
It's called turning the road using forward and reverse gears.
Okay.
Yes, because you are actually allowed to do it in 25 if necessary. 25 back and forth.
Well, Nick, a relative of mine, thick as 2 short planks, and he's a mechanic. He took his theory 20 times.
my lad was my eldest lad.
The breakdown yet.
I mean, my eldest lad must have been driving now for 15 or more years, but I can remember how upset he got when he failed his first test. He failed because he wasn't going fast enough on the dual carriageway.
I failed my first test down in Dorset when the British School of Motoring had a contract with the Army, and unfortunately I failed. But you're a better driver if you fail, because I became an advanced motorist, lorry driver, bus driver, milk float driver, and a cyclist. So
okay, yeah, I agree with you, Pete. But unfortunately, I passed first time, so I don't.
All right, okay.
Yes, I passed.
You let yourself over for that one, Pete.
A better driver.
My biggest problem with driving and learning was trying to teach my dad to drive, because my dad didn't even have a car when I passed my test. And suddenly one day he found himself promoted to departmental manager, which came with a car. And the car was delivered and he had to pass his test within 6 months or his car would go back. But he would never listen to me. And in the end, I gave up. He said, I'm never going out with you again. And he got his mate, who was at the time was the mayor's chauffeur. And because his mate could swear at him and tell him to don't be a beep, beep, beep. And that was a much better arrangement than son trying to teach dad.
I remember the night before my driving test in 1981, my dad took me out for a lesson the night before, and he did exactly what you just said there, John. He was riding my ass hard. You know what I mean? I was making mistakes, and he was really shouting, swearing, and putting me under pressure and all that sort of thing, so that I'd understand what I'd done wrong.
Mine was the other way round. Don't you tell me what to do, son. I said, who's in charge of this car, you or me?
I've got to say, I failed my test in the sitting over to Berlin, and then I learned to drive a Chieftain tank, 56 tons, fully bombed up with L plates. Now, Nick, what do you call that? What's the name of learning to drive in Germany for these gentlemen?
Good God.
We'll get them to type it in.
Wow.
If you're still there. No, it's called Fahrschule.
Oh, okay.
Fahrschule.
Well, Schule is a school, isn't it? So
yeah, Fahrschule.
And Fahr, F-A-H-R, is to travel. So
yeah. So there you go. Fahrschule. So Stephen's away obviously looking at things. So you guys, do you take pride in your driving?
Stephen's frozen, hasn't he?
Yeah, I know he's done that deliberately. So that means
that's a built-in feature now of XSplit. Yeah.
What?
And you can even take it. So you can freeze yourself in XSplit, and you can also take a screenshot in XSplit now as well.
Oh, right.
I never knew that.
Yeah, that's the two arrows that form like a square. That's a screenshot.
As I said, I'm also an advanced motorist, and it's funny. My wife and her family were arguing with me one day, and so and my mother-in-law says, "Oh, her son, much better driver than you. He's a much better driver." I says, "Oh, really? Is that why he's been banned twice?" "Oh, it was a beauty and got in there." I says, "I'll tell you what's happening this weekend. Over the bridge at On Barracks, the Institute of Advanced Motoring are taking you out to assess your driving." Now, at the time, I was a bus driver, and I says, "Come on, we'll all go over and we'll see what results we get." I was the only one that turned up, so I went out, and the guy turned around to me as we were driving, and he said, "You're a professional driver, aren't you?" I goes, "Yes, I'm a bus driver as well." He says, "The best drive today." I says, "Could you write that down for me, please?" Look at that. You are too cowardly to turn up.
My driving instructor said he never expected me to pass first time. I thought, "Oh, thank you very much."
Yeah.
But that's a bad thing for him, you passing first time. There's another money stream gone out the window.
We had a thing in the army called a QTO, right? Because everything in the army is three abbreviations, and that stands for Qualified Testing Officer, and that's who. And I know for a fact that guys in the early days would jump in a Land Rover, and the guy would say, "Drive us to the nearest cafe," and they'd drive in there, and he says, "Hold on there, I've got some shopping to get while I'm here," and then took him back to camp. He says, "That's a pass." that happened, but mine was real. But because I had my heavy goods in Germany too, I did my heavy goods there too, and so that, and I know that happened for a fact. There's a lot of guys got their license, but I've got to tell you, I once came off the ferry at Hull, and I went on the wrong side of the road.
I'm
And I
afraid
came
I've
off.
done that in the States, driven
Yeah.
off, and then suddenly realised I'm on the wrong side of the road. Frightening.
Now, John, I've got some. We are looking at one of my ambitions was to get a camper van and come around Britain. We're getting a camper van.
You're going to actually buy one, are you?
We're buying one. Yeah, mainly for Sheila and the dogs to go with. But what I plan to do, remember I asked you about, I plan to come around Britain,
Oh,
but
yeah.
in sections. I'd love to go around the coast of Britain. I might do it east, back home west, or I might just do east and home, and then not Scotland. I've seen Scotland, and then go. So whatever. I'd love to go around the coast, but in sections.
Oh, well, you'll miss us three then, because we're all inland.
Might make a deviation to come and see you, and hopefully one day I will be on here sitting in my camper van, because that guy, well, I haven't got the name of yet. I was so jealous of him in that camper van, sitting there doing his stuff. He made websites, this guy.
Yeah, I've tried to find his name without success. Stupid, isn't it?
I had to help. I'd help to pass a tick test. Yeah. So I'm just checking something here. Stephen, are you okay? You still with us, mate? You're looking up something.
I'm still here.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
I think I'm up to date now. Okay, I'm back. Right. Okay, two contrasting stories. It's just been announced that coronavirus is no longer a leading cause of death in England and Wales, which is good news, I think. I think that as we stand at the moment, things are improving, and we're on target for June 21st when we have the freedoms that we had before the pandemic began. Thoughts about the handling of this over the last 6 months?
I think the handling of the vaccines has been fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I mean, my second jab is due in 29 days, and it's just remarkable.
I haven't even got to wait that long. Mine is due on Tuesday, the 4th of May.
Excellent. And Pete, have you had yours yet?
I've had mine, but I'll tell you something. Unfortunately, my sister-in-law has had a very serious reaction to it, and she's been very ill, and her whole body's come out in spots. She's a nurse, well, retired nurse. Her husband's a doctor, so he says obviously.
Do you know which one she had?
I'm not sure.
Because there's 3 now available, isn't there? So
yeah. But I'll tell you what's interested me looking at America. There's a graph going about. Florida, which are never really locked down, has got the lowest percentage of COVID deaths. And then the next state that did have a lockdown, their middle range deaths. And then there's the worst state, I think, is Nancy Pelosi's area, what do you call it? California and things like that. They've got the worst. And you'll find out in the graphs of people who lock down and mask wearing, and they've ended up the worst for some reason. Florida has been a great time, seemingly. See if you can find out. So where Stephen went.
I don't know. I just heard him a moment ago. I can't see him. Right, but there's a situation which I suppose the UK could help with. Because whilst we are heading the right way, India is going totally the wrong way. And they had 314,000 new cases yesterday.
Right.
And when you think that our new cases yesterday was just over 2,000, you know, it's out of control. It's when we saw the first pictures at the beginning of the pandemic and of Italy. That's the situation that India is in, where the hospitals are overrun, just can't cope, running out of oxygen. And this is a time when the first world could actually step in and help. And I think even though it is India, we should
and that
do
would
so.
be in our own interest there. I would totally agree that. And better than using that for a nuclear missile from India and going up or space rockets from India. Use your money for that. But they're such a, well, in other ways, they're a poor country. And all these people are all jam-packed in together. That's the problem. And also their genetic mix with being Asian, that'll make it more vulnerable for them. They obviously get plenty of vitamin D because of the sunshine, you know. So it's quite a hard one. That
It is. But my thoughts are that we and Europe and America should all do what we can. Probably charities are already started actually helping out. Yeah.
I do agree on that because you know, a lot of people come back and forth to India and Britain. We don't really want that strain coming in.
Well, they've refused to allow extra flights, haven't they?
Have they?
We've got between 10 and 15,000 people arriving at Heathrow every day. As John says, they've just put India on the red list, and British Airways said no more flights, extra flights. The deadline is Friday, I think.
I think it was actually Heathrow Airport that's actually refused to take any more flights as opposed to just British Airways.
Yeah.
It's a difficult situation.
Now, I think we all I predicted the collapse of the British economy, but apparently the North and Midlands are leading the jobs recovery at the moment. And things are going well in the Midlands, John.
I don't think we've had any real panics beyond what we would normally have had over the last 18 months anyway, in terms of job losses. We know that some are going at Land Rover and some new ones are coming at Land Rover. So it just becomes very difficult, really.
Yeah.
A new variant of the Indian one, hopefully it hasn't got in here.
Well, the thing is, whatever we do, we can't actually stop it traveling the world until effectively every country has got a vaccination program which has been substantially completed.
But it will never happen, will it? So we're just going to have to add it to the long list of other things that we learn to live with, hepatitis and all those other things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, apparently they're developing a course of treatment which you can actually use at home.
Yeah, it's 2 tablets apparently.
Is it indeed? I know we're getting offered testing kits 2 a week. Yeah.
Yeah, that gives you a dichotomy. And Gareth have got some of them, but we haven't used them yet.
Corinda, we're talking about COVID, not Mixcloud.
No. Do you know where I am today? Do you know where I am today?
Yes. Barlinnie.
No. It's actually the Stasi prison.
All right.
Okay.
That's where you went for your cup of tea and a chat.
And 20,000 volts. Yeah.
You've probably heard this one, Stephen Silk, but in the army, if you were in trouble, you were invited for a cup of tea.
Yeah, you were given an
with
award,
no biscuit.
weren't you? You were given an award. Biscuits. You weren't punished, you were awarded something like, a fine or restricted to barracks and all sorts of things. But I do love the way you describe the interaction between the stars and the populace.
What, sorry?
I like how you said, you're invited in for a cup of tea and a chat.
Without biscuits.
Yeah, before your thumbnails were taken off.
Corinda has brought up the topic of Mixcloud, something that I'm not aware of because I'm broadcasting on there live, playing music that I enjoy listening to. And Corinda is saying Mixcloud has got strict. The thing about Mixcloud is it's not strict. You can play music, the royalties get paid to the artists, and it simply works. So I don't know what problem is. I do know that there may well be a guest appearance tomorrow, live singing, and the gentleman who might be doing that might be on the screen at the moment.
Yeah,
Over to Nick.
We must make sure we're offline tomorrow, shouldn't we, Stephen? With the
yeah,
PH?
listen, I'll tell you
We
guys.
do not want to hear him singing.
I'll tell you something. That mixed cloud is actually good. And if you were in your little radio show and have to look, is it all? It's not all singing and music, is it? You can have a chat program and you could bring somebody on and say,
the guy was interviewed when this was launched, because this is Mixcloud is a UK site, totally British. They've agreed licensing with every major record company, and you can go on there, play your tunes. They don't want it to be a chat site. They don't want people to go and put a podcast on, which has no music in it. They essentially want to be music, but I'm going to be doing a series of shows which are a combination of interview and music, where it's a bit like Desert Island Disc, but it's on Mixcloud. So I'm looking forward to that. We've got a show with Fonz, which went out on Monday. That went very well. I've made new friends, new contacts on Mixcloud. Quite enjoying myself, and I'm currently ripping CDs from my extensive CD collection, so I can actually play them live on air. Sorry?
Have you got any Frank Sinatra?
I don't have. I've got to be honest here, Pete. I don't have a single Frank Sinatra, Nancy Sinatra, Dean Martin record in my collection.
Wow.
Yeah.
Speak to you later about it.
Yeah, I don't have any of those. The
Aren't they all available on music apps though, like Spotify and Apple Music and Amazon Music?
Yeah, but if you can play music privately, you can sign up for Apple Music, you can sign up for Spotify, you can play music to your heart's content for you and your family. You can go out and listen to it. But what you can't do is take any Apple Music, Spotify Music, or Google Music over onto Mixcloud. It's against the rules.
Right.
So you've got to get the music from somewhere. And as my collection goes back years, then I've got quite a bit of,
To the latter part of the last century.
Yeah. You see, you can have like a Desert Island Discs, but you can no way copy Desert Island Disc. You'd have to marooned discs or something like that.
Maroon discs.
Marooned discs. What would you play if you were marooned?
Maroon 5.
Stephen, you're not taking this seriously.
Who, me?
No, I am. I mean,
okay.
I've often wondered, because you've told us in the past, Stephen, that this goes out on a radio station as well, or might have gone out as a radio station. And I often wonder, is there any, certainly any appetite? I don't know if there's any appetite for doing a radio show. I just don't know.
Have you seen that Uber have launched a new delivery service?
Nope.
They're delivering babies now. A lady made a dash to a hospital via Uber at 3:00 in the morning, and she had the baby in the Uber just as they pulled up outside the hospital. So Uber are now delivering babies.
Did he charge her £25 for cleaning it?
I don't think it covers that in the article. I think that's only for cleaning up sick, isn't it? But vomit. I think there's a bit of difference.
So
I think
going
that's
back
quite
to
a good
Stephen.
story myself, but
Who's heard
Go back to
about?
Stephen. If you get Mixcloud right, I think you would build. Could you imagine someone young getting Mixcloud and building up a really good thing, and then somebody comes along and says, "We'd love you to play in our radio station. You get X amount of £1,000 a year." That'll happen, I'll tell you. Right.
Okay, but I mean, amazing, wonderful news from Mars. Have you heard that the little helicopter called Ingenuity flew for the first time on Monday this week, Monday, last Friday, recently, and it went up in there, hovered, turned around, and came back down again. And the second flight is today, and perfect success last time. But also amazingly, for the first time on another planet, humans have converted carbon dioxide into oxygen.
Oh,
They've cracked the CO2 into carbon and oxygen. Those are stunning achievements when you think about it. Absolutely bloody stunning. We had evidence of Ingenuity going up and down within 4 hours of it doing it. The technology is beyond amazing, and God bless all of them. But I also there was a report this morning saying that the Russians have said that within about 5 to 10 years they're going to pull out of the ISS, the International Space System. They're going to build their own, citing the fact that the Americans are punishing them with sanctions.
Yeah.
Because of all the, I was going to swear there, all of the bad things they've done, the Russians that is. But it'd be interesting to see what the consequences of that are for space.
And that's why the last president built the American Space Force. Has President Biden cancelled that, by the way?
Hopefully, and no, that wasn't the reason that Trump built Space Force. Trump built Space Force as a vanity project for his thick, narcissistic head.
Is that written somewhere, Stephen? Or was that an
you still
opinion?
got the Dyson title, Steve.
All right.
You want me to read it back?
Put up Dyson. Could you put it up again? While we've been on air, Mr. Dyson has announced that he's bringing his residency back to the UK. He's going to become a UK resident. Sorry?
God, that's quick. Thank you, John.
Well, what's the implications of that then?
He'll pay UK taxes, won't he?
Right.
And he is a billionaire, so there should be considerable taxes.
He probably does, though. You know?
He pays Singapore tax, Pete.
Yeah, but Singapore taxes are quite light compared with the UK.
He's coming back.
He's putting his money where his mouth is.
He's coming back because of the weather, isn't he? I mean, that's the prime reason to come back to the UK. It's the British weather. He's missed us. It's been too humid over there.
Well, I hummed and hawed about whether to bring my plants in off the patio last night. Yeah. And I went down this morning and I'd watered some of them over the top of a big mixing bowl thing. And when I looked in it, it was full of ice. So I'm damn glad I bought the stuff in last night.
Yeah, I just think I hope
breaking news. I don't think we really give up. Beep, beep, beep. Where he is.
I hope he's not been stuck in it.
Well, as long as he keeps investing in Wiltshire, there's no problem.
Henry rules, blow them Dysons out the water.
He changed from Dyson this year, actually.
Okay, British and American technology. The Met Office and Microsoft have built a climate supercomputer. Yeah, that was just announced today. I just had a look at the Tampa Bay Times.
And there's some analysis of what Peter was talking about, which is the whether Florida's doing better on coronavirus than lockdown states. And from what I'm reading, I mean, it's in black and white, it would appear to suggest that, yeah, Peter, you're right.
But isn't it because of the weather? Yeah.
Oh, I don't know why, but it would appear that.
Well, what he done is immediately he protected the vulnerable in their homes and their nursing homes and that. I think they got the vaccine right away, and he protected them from everybody else. Whereas Governor Cuomo in New York was sending people to their deaths by putting them into nursing homes when they knew they had COVID, and they've manipulated the figures as well. So he done it the opposite way. He protected the old, he let the economy carry on, and that's what's happened. Have you seen the graph there? Have they shown you the graph, Stephen?
Yeah. They're saying that the connection is less clear-cut than DeSantis suggests, but this PolitiFact font, they're rating the statement as half true. So it's actually fascinating because it makes you wonder, whether the UK's approach, which was to go for what's the word when they all get it? Herd immunity.
Herd immunity. Yeah.
Herd immunity might have actually, but then again, our stats were worse for a long time. I mean, I don't know what they are now. I mean, we're going to be better than Germany, I think.
We're better than Europe, and because of the vaccinations.
Right. Yeah,
what's happening in Sweden? Because they got a kicking about it, about staying open.
Yeah, they did. They were trying to do the herd immunity thing, and there was a couple of Scandinavian countries trying to do that, weren't there?
The rate in Sweden at the moment is higher than that in Norway and other neighbouring countries.
It's one thing I've noticed. I've seen some people that said, "Look, I'm a staunch Remainer," but after the carry on with the vaccine in Europe, I'm actually glad that we got out. And I don't know if any of you seen that. I've seen that coming up in forums, people who voted Remain, and they just don't like the way it's been handled in Europe.
I
think when and
John and Stephen talk, there was an echo. I'm not hearing any echo at all, and believe me, I would be the first to be complaining. I think if you need to switch it off and switch it on again, Corinda, and it should clear. I mean, as far as echoes are concerned, if two people complain, then we've got an echo.
Echo. Yeah, we got echoes.
Echo.
Can't get a staff these days.
Echo.
Is anybody going to bring the bunny men? Echo and the bunny men. Do you remember them?
I was actually singing it.
It was the 70s, wasn't it?
Right, over to John to talk about anything that's might be happening at 4 o'clock today.
Oh, yeah, we're going to be talking about... there was a post yesterday about how it's not possible in video to have a quick flash of products because you can't adjust things below half a second. And I'm going to show people that that's not true and answer a couple of other questions from within the group as well. So that's in video. Be inspired by in video at 4 p.m.
Yeah, and the logo's top
right. Oh, the
right.
fish has appeared.
Just look out for the logo and you'll find us. Yeah, and then the other show to watch out is Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. in the UK, and that's the music show on Mixcloud. There will be a link, and I'll be joined by friends, and who knows what could happen in 60 minutes of music, a celebration of music, which I love. Did you know, and not that it's highly relevant, but if you had a podcast, and that podcast was on anchor.fm, and you wanted to play music in that podcast, then you can go to your Spotify account and you can play any music you like. I'm just going to say that Anchor is free. The version of Spotify is free. So if you want to have some fun doing a podcast with music and chat, then Anchor.fm is the place to go.
Do you have to register and sign up and pay for it?
No, it's free. It's free. You're not paying a penny. If you want to put the world to rights, 30 minutes, you can record it. Well, you've been down the podcast route, Stephen. You know it inside out. Okay.
Chris says she hasn't heard the echo.
What?
We need two people to confirm it. Right.
Okay.
Final test. If somebody could type in a question about anything for any of us.
Corinda, we discussed your comment about Mixcloud. Corinda saying, did you see his comment about Mixcloud? We discussed.
Yeah. Mixcloud is.
You've seen the stats about India? 300,000 people were diagnosed with coronavirus yesterday.
That's what we said.
In one day.
Yeah. Well, what I said, because this is when you weren't here, is that I think we all agreed that we should send as much assistance as we can over to India to help them.
Just consider the population of India, and how big it could get in India.
Said the conditions are right for it to spread, and the
lack of sanitation, all sorts of things. They're all contributory factors. And so many people standing on the roof of a train doesn't help because they're all close to each other.
Talking of which, sporting events in the UK and pop festivals. The pop festival over the weekend, 4,000 people attending, which is a trial for venues and events.
Got to have a test beforehand, though, haven't you, to be a participant?
Yep.
A negative test, that is.
They're taking precautions, but it's another step on the road back to being near normal. Right, okay. Question then before we go. Who's been shopping locally this week?
I always shop locally.
Who's been shopping locally with local shops this week?
I always shop locally.
Okay.
Who's been shopping locally with their arm tied behind their back?
I always shop locally with my arm tied behind my back.
We've got to support local businesses, help them get some revenue, keep them going. Otherwise, they will surely disappear.
As well as the short hair, I'll tell you a minor story from the barbers. I had my hair cut and we were talking about things, and then I came to pay at the end and she gave me a price and I went, huh? What? And she said, I remember that you're now 65. So she offered me pensioner's price. And do you know what? I felt insulted. And I made her accept the full price with a bit of a bonus on, because obviously she's got to recover from being closed for quite a long time. But I felt insulted being offered the pensioner's price. But it shows one thing: she clearly remembers what you talk about from previous visits, because I hadn't been since October last year, but she remembered that I was 65 in January.
Do you know who I'm looking forward to meet? I've had my hair cut, which was by a Turkish guy that looks after me. I give him a $5.
Yeah, well, you were allowed a haircut a week before we were.
But you know who I'm really wanting to see on Monday? But I'm not going to go on Monday because we're extremely busy. I'm looking to see my tailor. Sheila bought me new jeans, Armani jeans, in Christmas, and I haven't been able to get the hems teed up properly, So that's who I'm looking forward to see.
Brilliant. Okay.
I bought an all-in-one boiler suit to do gardening in about 17 years ago, and that required the legs turning up, so it went back in the packet. It resurfaced last week. I don't know whether I can be bothered to go and get the legs turned.
What surprised me, John, about your allotment, it's got a toilet and it's got a coffee shop.
well, our allotments has got a toilet. We have coffee mornings, but we won't
Was
do
it?
it at the moment.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
We're actually in the process of refurbishing one of the buildings, and we're going to get a proper food license, because you have to have a license around here to use it. And we're actually changing the flooring so that we can because you've got to have non-slip flooring as part of the food license.
yeah. Well, as you can see, I'm biking again, and I'm down to 11 stone 3.8 pounds. That's better than saying 11.4.
11 stone 3. God blimey, you'll be
11 stone.
disappearing soon.
Well, do you know something? And I had to go and give blood for my sugar levels, and the phone yesterday, so it's a doctor's surgery. I said, "All right, what's happening and what we doing?" The doctor will speak to you over the phone 4 to 6 weeks. He'll go over it and says, "I've been nothing of me."
Right. I'm gonna,
Oh gosh, we've gone over time, so it's about time we said we're disappearing. So it's goodbye from Wiltshire. It looks like the man from Stoke-on-Trent's already gone. Oh no, he's back. So it's goodbye from Stoke-on-Trent.
Bye-bye.
And it's goodbye from Scotland. And goodbye from the West Midlands. Bye.
Oh.